Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Ajoe21love, here with episode number 57 of Sports Overview Top, 57. Trying to do that with my hands. There you go, 57 of the podcast, Sports Overview Topics today. Thank you for joining me. Uh, Today, I'll be talking about on the podcast numerous topics. Today, amassed over the weekend. I'll be talking about Miesha Tate, her return to the UFC, and successful battle against Marion Renault. Ted Ginn Jr., he retired. Former longtime deep threat. Uh, Many teams called quits after a 14-year career. I'll be reflecting on his run, as well as Pete Alonso winning the Home Run Derby. Also, I'll be talking about the best fits because he seems ready for a return. The question is, which teams would be the best fits for Delanie Walker? He's still out there. So, talk about all that and a bit more. So, if you like this video, be sure to click the like button as well as subscribe if you want to see more of my videos as far as sports topics, pro wrestling reviews. I actually uploaded my Impact Wrestling Slammiversary 2021 review the other day on Sunday. So go check that out if you haven't. If you're a pro wrestling fan, if you like Impact or pro wrestling fan in general, if you want to hear my thoughts on Slammiversary, my first review of Impact, go check that out if you want to. Also, because I saw the issue earlier, but today I found out that my AW Fighter Fest Night 1 review had some issues, so I'll try to upload that again later today. But nonetheless, for those who missed the review, I'll upload it again later today, as well as of course, you'll find my AEW Fighter Fest Night 2 review on Thursday. So there's that. But nonetheless, after talking about the schedule, let's get into the episode today. Now, shall we? So, Miesha Tate, she was triumphant in her return to the Octagon Saturday night against Marion Renault. Became the first stopper. Did a good job for when she was in there. Miesha Tate, we have not seen her fight since UFC 205. Back the first Madison Square Garden card against Raquel Pennington. I believe that was the opener on. It was either the opener of the main card or the main event of the prelims, but nonetheless, because it was arguably the most stacked card for the UFC, I would say. But nonetheless, it's been about 4.5 years since she's been out of the octagon, but she looked good in her return. Landing good shots, applied good pressure to Renault, the first to stop Renault in the octagon, to my knowledge. So That's defeat. She talked about post fight that Holly Holm asked for a rematch against Miesha Tate from their title fight at UFC 196, which was a solid fight. That was pretty much, well, that was her signature moment of the UFC for Miesha Tate, winning the title from Holly Holm, choking her out the way she did. And then after that, she only had 2 more fights, and then she called it quits. Now she's back. You know, interesting to see where she goes from here, but she could slide right in, definitely, to that bantamweight division for the UFC. So, good for Miesha Tate. So, next up, Ted Ginn Jr. Ted Ginn Jr., who last we heard was on the Chicago Bears last season. But he called it quits after many years, 14-year career with the Dolphins, the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Saints, the Panthers, and the Bears. So, but I would say solid career for Ted Ginn Jr. You know, even going back to Tennessee, he was never. He was never a really big, dominant receiver. Never a 1,000-yard receiver. The most he got in the NFL was 790 yards receiving. Plus, he was good in the return game. So, he was solid receiving and solid in the return game. You know, for, you know, when he started his career with the Dolphins, it was a weird situation because the Dolphins were not a solid offense. You know, they were about the Wildcat offense back in the late 2000s with Chad Pennington, Ronnie Brown. You know, they had solid defense, but they weren't really a top throwing offense. And then he went to the 49ers, and he was primarily their kick returner for a couple of years. And then after that, so he was never really given, I would say, an opportunity. He had speed, always a downhill threat, but he wasn't as good as Deshaun Jackson down the field as far as the receiver, but he was still a solid receiver and never really, I would say, got a chance to be a big play receiver or shine the way he could. And then he went to the Cardinals and he was okay, but primarily with the Panthers is when he really got his chance to shine. And then he did well on their way to Super Bowl 50. Unfortunately, they could not get the job done against the Broncos, but nonetheless, until he got with the Panthers, he didn't really got his chance to really shine the way he could. And then with the Saints, he had a few good years there. So, I mean, a good career for Ted Ginn Jr. And so, hats off to him. Um, not good enough for Canton, but because I know the questions are going to be raised, now that he's retired, it's like, oh, is he ready for Ken? His career was not good enough for Ken, but it was a solid career nonetheless. And hats off to Ted Ginn Jr. So then, peering from that to Pete Alonso, the winner of the Home Run Derby. Pete Alonso, he amassed a record in the first round of the Home Run Derby, hitting, it was either 25 to 35 home runs, one of those two, but nonetheless, he set the record for home runs in the first round, and then many tried to get close and at least have a chance, but Alonso fired back with 13. Yeah, it was 25, excuse me. And then finished up with 38 home runs. And, hats off to Alonso. Good for the Mets. We know how good DeGrom has been doing for them this season. And then Alonso winning the World Series. I mean, it's still a tough division, and they're still not in a mightily lead, but still good for the Mets. Although Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he was the MVP of the All-Star game, so hats off to him. Despite the Blue, it's strange. It's unfortunate and strange when you look at it that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Shohei Ohtani are both in the running for MVP, and yet they're part of two of the worst teams in the league. The Blue Jays and, well, the Blue Jays are not as bad as the Angels, but nonetheless, it's unfortunate, but so good for Guerrero Jr. and Ohtani, specifically Guerrero, for being the MVP of the All-Star game. So, there's that. And then Delanie Walker. So, well, actually, before I get to Delanie Walker, might as well shed light on this because I wanted to wait till the series was over to talk about the series again, but I figure I have to. So, Game 5 was Saturday night between Milwaukee Bucks and Phoenix Suns in the NBA Finals. And it was really a tops and turvy game. What I mean by that is the momentum shifts were just weird, to say the least. I mean, In the first quarter, the Phoenix Suns, they had a 16-point lead, and then the Bucks came roaring back in the second quarter, and they amassed a double-digit lead. Um, they were leading at halftime, and then they poured it on again in the third quarter, and then they seemingly, the Suns, they made their way back. They made their way down one, and then all of a sudden, Devin Booker, he gets the ball, he goes into coverage, he's swamped by three Bucks defenders, gets the ball stripped away from him, and then the Suns, that was their moment to take the lead, but they just couldn't wrap it up. And, I said it before, I'll say it again, that the thing we've been talking about with the Milwaukee Bucks is for the last few years, we've been questioning, with Giannis being a multiple time MVP, you know, it's like when they've gotten eliminated, it's like when are they going to take the next step and when are they going to finish the job? And game 6 is Tuesday. So, or tomorrow. Crazy how time flies, but yeah. So, game 6 is tomorrow. And can they close it out in Milwaukee? That will certainly be the question. And as for the Suns, Chris Paul has been there for 16 years. He's dealt with injuries throughout the playoffs. Has had bad breaks. Excuse me. And the Suns, they had this run, you know, eliminating the defending champion Lakers, the defeating the MVP and Jokic, defeating the tough Los Angeles Clippers, despite not without Kawhi, and now they've gotten here. Certainly be a question because the last couple games, although he had a much better game last Saturday night, Chris Paul has been kind of hot and cold. DeAndre Ayton has been not the player he was the last few series. So it's a question of can they follow up, and because they still have the potential, or they can definitely make it Game 7 and win it there. But it's a tough task because the more and more you watch the series, the more I watch the series, I can tell that the defense and the bigness of the Milwaukee Bucks is getting to the Phoenix Suns. It seems like that's the story. I mean, yes, we can say that the Suns, they were on a 16-0 run, or had a 16-point lead, and then Devin Booker, they had a chance to get the game back at the end, but they failed. But the Milwaukee Bucks line up with PJ Tucker, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez, Giannis, Middleton. Their defense is causing a problem with the Suns. And it's kind of taken them a little bit out of their element, I would say. So it's going to be an uphill battle for the Suns to make it a game 7 and go back to Phoenix. And it's also going to be an uphill battle for Milwaukee to close it out in game 6 tomorrow. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, after speaking about the finals, want to talk about Delanie Walker because he's back in the news. You know, Delanie Walker did not play last season. You know, he lost his job to Jonnu Smith and Anthony Ferguson in Tennessee. He's not the same tight end as he was a couple years ago or a number of years ago. But he says his body's in good shape. He says he's feeling good. And he's ready to play for a team that's a contender. So now with that, looking at the teams that could use the tight ends, that could definitely, because it's not going to be a number one option. I think he can be a good 2 or a great 3, kind of how Jason Wynn was last year with the Raiders. But I mean, you look at the chart of the teams, it's like, okay. Patriots, we know, don't need a tight end. The Dolphins, pairing them up with Gesicki, maybe a nice touch. Jets, Ryan Griffin is really good, and come along the last couple of years with the Jets, but plus Chris Herndon, they keep wanting him to take the next step, but he's not really taking that. And part of that's been injuries, part of that's been, um, getting in trouble. So we'll see. But they could use them as well. Steelers, I don't think so. Well, they could, but I don't think it's likely. What is Ebron? The Ravens, we know they like to get deep with tight ends, so that's a possibility. The Browns are low at tight end, so nope. The Bengals could use them. Joe Burrow showed last year that he was very friendly with tight ends, and Cedric Uzama, assuming he comes back healthy, and Drew Sample. Plus, they signed Thaddeus Smalls, Joe Burrow's former college tight end, at LSU. That could work if he's just providing leadership to these young guns. So that's a possibility. The Titans, again, he left, so nope, I don't think that's an option. The Colts, they got Malali Cox, they got Jack Doyle. I mean, probably not likely, I would say. So the Jaguars, trying to get Tim Tebow to make the roster. I mean, maybe, but I don't see that likely. Texans, no. I don't wish that on them. The Texans are dysfunctional. I just, no. The Chiefs, they got Kelsey. Maybe they could, but the Chargers, they signed Jared Cook. They got that Sean Colkin guy who they like as well. But see, all of it depends on how much he wants and how much he's willing to get. Because, like I said, he's not willing to be not going to be a number one option as a tight end. So interesting to see. The Raiders are deep at tight end, so I don't think the Broncos. No, I don't think so. Cowboys maybe. The Washington, I know, could use them as well. I would not the Eagles because we know they're trying to make it work with. They gotta pay Dallas Goddard eventually, and then what they're gonna do with Zach Ertz, I don't know. The Rams could use them. I don't think the Vikings need them. The Bears could if he's a 3 because they got Cole Kmet and Jimmy Graham. But there are a bunch of possibilities out there for Delanie Walker. It's, again, how much is he willing to get paid and how much does he want? And find that synergy, find that equality balance, per se. But nonetheless, that's the episode for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. I did too. Again, if you like this video, click the like button as well as click the subscribe if you want to see more videos as far as the channel goes and the podcast. But thank you for joining me. I'll post my AEW Fighter Fest Night 1 review again later today after some issues again. So get that again. But I'll see you back on Thursday for AEW Fighter Fest Night 2. So thank you and peace.